Hey, what's up, fight fans? Will back for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC 215 from Rogers Place Arena in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, as Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson looks for history and looks to defend his belt for the 11th time as he faces off against Ray Borg in the main event. And in the co-main event, we have Amanda Nunes facing off against Valentina Shevchenko in the rematch, which was supposed to happen at 2:13, of course, got pulled on the day of the fights. Overall, I love the card. I think there's a lot of fun matchups here. And yeah, looking forward to talking about it. I think it's kind of funny that Demetrious Johnson and Amanda Nunes are on the same card. Demetrious turned down TG, didn't want to fight him, instead wanted to fight Ray Borg. Amanda pulled out on the fight day of UFC 213, been put together here. There's been no promotion for the event whatsoever, which is a little bit shoddy in my opinion, because both, especially Demetrious Johnson, is going to be one of your best fighters that ever steps in the octagon. So not pushing those people, it's as a fan's perspective, I don't think it's great, but it is what it is. But I do like the card overall. We'll get into that in a little second. Coming off UFC Rotterdam, really solid card. I think I went 10-2 with the only losses were Guti and Des Green, which I think Guti towards the end of the week I started to like a lot more, especially when I seen his DraftKings price. I thought he had the opportunity to do well there, and Des Green I thought he had an opportunity to win, but Khabibulov just takes those fights very, very closely. But overall, another solid card. Zabit Magomedsharipov looked incredible. Volkov, some new life in that division. The British boys did well too. So overall, a pretty solid card gets started in this big run of events. I'm looking forward to this one for the simple fact that I didn't play much DraftKings this last week, and I'm going to be like unloading on DraftKings this week with a lot of the tickets that I've already won, hopefully to get into the big qualifiers. So yeah, obviously I just want to say a big thank you. First episode of the MMA Huddle went out last week. I recorded episode 2 yesterday, and we got a lot of great response from some of you guys. Honestly, please, if you can go subscribe to our channel, come follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're going to be doing a lot of good things going forward. And it's just basically the new episode, we're talking about Rotterdam 215. We're talking about the decline of maybe the European MMA scene with the UFC, the watered down cards a little bit. What's next for some fighters going forward. So go check that out. Please come and follow us and just subscribe to our YouTube channel and try and support us. We're going to try and make it as fan friendly as possible. We're always there to be spoken to, so come and speak to us on there. And you can follow me on Twitter, Will Martin MMA, and if you want to play me on DraftKings, it's BillBar85, BILBAR85. Just look for my WM logo and you'll find me on there. So, starting at the very bottom of this card, really looking forward to this card. We have Cajun Johnson against Adriano Martins. Now, I think initially when the fight came out, I thought this is going to be, it could be close. It's in Canada. Cajun, to be honest with you, I think he needs a win here, because if he doesn't win, he's going to be out. For the simple fact that he's very pro against the UFC and how much they're paying, and he opened his mouth at the UFC athletes retreat about certain things, and I think he's got every right to, but I think the UFC can look down on you for stuff like that. What I see from Cajun Johnson, he's not overly a solid fighter. I think he's been around the game a long time. Coming off, saying that he is on a 2-fight win streak against Zhang Lipeng and Naoki Kitani, but let's be honest, it's not great. It's not great opponents. Win by decision, and in those fights he's gassed out pretty badly as well. So he's got off to a quick start, and then he's went on to win the fight via unanimous decision. Adriano Martins, I just think, is going to be another level altogether, and I think that if his output, what I don't like about Martins is he doesn't throw enough. If he throws enough and throws viciously enough, he will hurt you and he will catch you with a shot. He's obviously got those jiu-jitsu skills down on the mat. I think this is going to take place against the cage, where he controls Cajun Johnson a little bit, tries to drop down for takedowns, just be dirty in the clinch and look to take him to the ground from there. I think once it's on the ground, he will kind of big brother Cajun Johnson. Now, I know Cajun Johnson's a very experienced fighter across a lot of fight organisations in Canada and the US and so on. Was on the Ultimate Fighter, so the guy's had a lot of fights and been around a long time. I just think that Adriano Martins if he gets the opportunity to ragdoll him, I think he will. I think that's what will happen. So I can see possibly a late finish, but caging is tough as well. So I'm going to go Adriano Martins via decision. And I think it could be fairly convincing after round 1 for Adriano Martins as well. So I thought he actually won that fight against Leo Santos actually at UFC 204 in Manchester. That was the last time we've seen him. So nearly a year layoff for Adriano Martins, but I like him in this one here. Martins via decision. Heavyweight divisions, we have Luis Enrique against the newcomer Arjan Bula. Arjan Bula was really hard to find tape on this guy. That he fought in the Battlefield promotion, and they don't really have any. I don't think they keep any of the fights that they have on the promotion, which is a little weird. So he's coming in here with a 6-0 record. He's definitely comes from a wrestling background. He represented Canada, I think it was, in the Commonwealth Games or something like that, at the World Championships, I think it was. And watched 3 or 4 of his wrestling matches. Very solid wrestler. But he can controls the fight very well. Start to put it all together in his MMA career. He obviously uses that as a kind of a stick to stay to. But see, there's literally no fights out there. Shout out to Brett Apley, who went and found a fight and he paid for it. And was lucky enough to send it to me, and I watched that. So shout out to Brett. And yeah, overall, I think he relies on his control and his wrestling and his grappling. You're going to do that if you're a wrestler by trade. You're going to do that. But from fight to fight, I'm sure there's been a progression in his strike, and I can't see him being in the UFC having very little striking. I know that he has some big ground and pound in the fight that we did see that he pounded somebody out. But it's hard to really pick the guy considering there's no tape out there. Luis Enrique, I think this is the fight. Luis Enrique likes to put people against the cage and really kind of grind on them and look to take them down and look for submissions like he has done in the past. Coming off that loss to Marcin Tybura, I thought that he started off very well. I thought he put Tybura where he wanted to put him, but just gasped badly. And I think against a wrestling based guy like Bula, who predominantly most of his fights have went to decision as well. He's went 5 rounds as well before, which I think is very telling. So he can go hard for the 25 minutes and control the fight for that 25 minutes. So I think Bula will gas a little bit too, but I think he can last longer during the 3 rounds and be the more explosive guy in the clinch, in the grappling transitions and so on and so on. And I think once it goes to the ground, I think he can control Henrique down there, and I don't think Henrique will get back up there. So on that one, I'm going to go Arjan Bula. I'm going to go decision, potentially a late knockout in round 3 due to ground and pound. But it was really hard for me to take that. I was actually thinking about betting Bula. There's no betting lines out for that yet. But due to the lack of tape, I just can't do it. I was going to parlay him with someone further on in the card, but I just can't do it. But I do like him to get a couple of takedowns in the fight to win the fight, but it's just the experience that's kind of thrown me off. He's very inexperienced against not great guys, where Luis Enrique, I don't think he's overly great for the heavyweight division. I don't think he's teetering in that top 15, but he's experienced the big leagues, he's experienced better fighters probably than Bula. So yeah, it's a tough fight to pick, but I'm going to pick Bula by decision in that one there. Lightweight division with Mitch Clarke against Alex White. What I forgot to say at the start there is DraftKings already has the prices up for these, so I've been looking, and they've had them up for a while as well. They had them up before the Rotterdam card, so I've been making lineups for the last 7 to 10 days possibly, and the prices of these two really surprised me. I thought it'd be pretty close to a pick 'em, but Mitch Clarke was 8,800 I think it was, and Alex White was 7,400. And I know which way I'm leaning in this one. When you watch the tape, you can see frailties, I think, in Mitch Clarke. I don't see, if the odds come out where this guy is a big favourite, which sometimes the DraftKings lines indicate, then I will be betting Alex White probably in some capacity. I like him in this fight. I think that Mitch Clarke can... I think he has tendencies to quit. I really do. I think he is he can be a little bit opportunistic on the ground with his submissions and so on. You have to be careful of that. But I just don't see overall a great fighter there. I do think he's got tendencies that he can quit in the octagon. And I think that Alex White, I don't think he's overly the greatest fighter ever either, but he fights smart. He looks for takedowns when he needs them. He did that against Lobov. I think that's a game plan that could work here. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the faster striker. Better footwork, better angles. In the clinch, I think it'll be close, but I think he can. I think White can hold him up against the cage and then try and react as soon as Clarke tries to move or look for the underhooks to come out. I think he can take him down through there. I think the longer the fight goes, he can do that as well. So really interesting fight there. I'm really looking forward to the betting lines coming out in that one, because it kind of reminds me of like Khabilov and Green last week, but watch the tape on Mitch Clarke and you can see things there that can be exploited. And I think Alex White is one of those guys that could exploit him in that. And I like Alex White. I think, again, he will find takedowns. I think on the feet he will just be that faster striker. But I know that Mitch Clarke has been in there with the better guys as well. But he hasn't lasted very long with those better guys. Iaquinta, the finish out, that was years ago. I think Chiesa absolutely mauled him. Joseph Duffy absolutely destroyed him. And that sucked because I had Duffy by knockout. I think it was plus money, and then he comes out, drops him, then submits him in like 20 seconds. I like Alex White in this one. I like him via decision. I can see maybe Mitch Clarke getting around, but I like a 29-28 decision for Alex White, and he'll probably be a staple in my DraftKings tier. I'm gonna try and make a video later on this week, hopefully Thursday night. I'm working quite a lot at the minute, back to work, so talk about DraftKings, talk about the card. I'm going to try and do that before a majority of cards if I can. But Alex White's going to be the pick there via decision. Moving on to the prelims on Fox Sports 1 in the featherweight division with Gavin Tucker against Rick Glenn. Fun fight, good fight. Nice step-up fight, I think, for Gavin Tucker, coming off that win over Sam Sicilia back early on this year, where I thought he looked incredible. I watched that fight again last night. I was going to try and get these video predictions out last night, but I literally spent all day with the baby. And I was, by about 11 PM, I was absolutely knackered. But I did lie in bed and I watched this fight with Gavin Tucker and Sam Sicilia. And I was really impressed with it. Like a debut, a very calm, level-headed fighter. Didn't push things, fought at his own pace, and just was really, he just looked like a complete professional in there. Very fast feet, sets up his combinations well. Really nice low kicks, like heavy thudding low kicks. And just outclassed. Now Sicilia, I think he's been cut from the UFC. I actually think he's signed to Bellator now, but he's got big power, but it never even came at the forefront of that fight. Gavin Tucker controlled the pace of that fight from the very get-go, and was just impressive. It was an impressive debut in my opinion. Rick Glenn, coming off that win over Felipe Nova, kind of picked and prodded at that one and won that fight. The interesting thing is here that this is going to be the biggest, probably the best fighter that Gavin Tucker's ever faced. I mean, the records of the guys he has beat isn't great. Rick Glenn has fought a lot, he's won a lot, he's beat good guys as well. Very experienced. So I think it's going to be close, I really do. But I think the speed of Gavin Tucker, I mean, the way he sets up his combinations, I mean, his leg kicks are really good. He got himself, he didn't go for it. He just kind of fought within himself and was very good in doing so. I was really impressed with him. But it is a clear step up here in Rick Glenn. He's a tough, grizzled vet, and that's the kind of fighters that it could give him a problem, because he's maybe not faced an awful lot of guys like that. So Rick Glenn, I think, has to really mix it up, try and get off in the strikes first. I don't think he's going to do that with the speed that Tucker has, but I just think he has to make it a rough and tough tumble kind of fight, and go from there. But I just think that Gavin Tucker is going to be a little bit too fast. I think that he's just going to be a little bit too fast, a little bit too good, I think, and I think he'll catch Rick before Rick can catch him. So I'm going to pick Gavin Tucker. I'm going to pick him via another decision. I think that, I don't see him finishing Rick Glenn. Glenn's a tough guy to get out of there. So I think the pick has to be Gavin Tucker via decision in that one there. Moving on to the women's bantamweight division with Sara Moras, or Moras, whatever it is, against Ashlee Evans-Smith. Sara Moras, 2 fights in the UFC, 2 losses in the UFC. Alexis Dufresne, she hasn't fought in over 2 years, so let's get that out the road. She fought way back in 2015, July there, and wins, I should say, over Alexis Dufresne, and lost to Jessica Andrade. Now, the Andrade fight, it is what it is. Andrade, we've seen what she's like. She's a bulldozer. But she kept herself in the fight for those 3 rounds and at least got to the scorecards. But interesting to see why she was out. I know she was initially out for an injury, but I know that she hasn't been injured in, I think, the last year that I know of. I did a little bit of research and tried to find out stuff, but yeah, interesting to see her back here. Ashlee Evans-Smith coming off that loss. It was to... Oh, I forgot the opponent. Let me see who it was. Oh, Ketlen Vieira, of course, was fighting in this card against Sara McMann. I thought that fight was going to be close, and Ketlen Vieira really just kind of bullied her a little bit and got the takedowns and just really controlled her. I think that what Ashlee Evans-Smith wants to do in this one is try and take it to the ground and use takedowns. I think she can do that, and she can control from down there. She did that in the Macedo fight. I just think this fight's going to be really sloppy. It could kind of go either way, but I'm going to take the girl who has been around fighting in that time that Sarah Moras has been off, and has fought the better calibre of opponents as well. But yeah, I think this is a kind of pass across betting. It's definitely a pass across DraftKings in my opinion. I'm not too interested in either one of these girls here, but I think Evans-Smith can use takedowns. I think in the clinch she can rough it up a little bit, take her down. I think she can control her for the most part. I can see maybe Moras getting back to her feet and try and make this a dirty fight, but I think it goes to decision. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a split, but I have to go Ashlee Evans-Smith via a 29-28 decision there. So starting off, is that five decisions? So there could be one or two. I think Bula has a chance to finish in that one, and possibly Gavin Tucker, but I like Evans-Smith via a decision there as well. Flyweight division, we have Henry Cejudo against Wilson Hayes. I was really looking forward to Henry Cejudo against Sergio Pettis. I think Sergio Pettis was going to show us how good a fighter he really is. I think he showed that. I know the win over Moreno's still kind of a newcomer to the sport, the UFC I should say, and fought very well down in Mexico. But I think he was going to beat Henry Cejudo at UFC 211, and that sucked it. That fight got pulled literally the day before. I don't like the fact that Wilson Hayes is coming back here. Now, I know he never took a huge beatdown against Demetrious Johnson back in April, but he did get dominated overall. Wherever the fight went, Demetrious Johnson was the clearly better fighter. He did secure a takedown on Demetrious Johnson, which was quite good, but DJ popped back to his feet, and then he was just too quick. Vicious body kicks, vicious leg kicks. Combinations were far too good, and he just really beat the shit out of Wilson Hayes in that one. And I think here, see, like I'm very tempted in Wilson Hayes in this fight. I'm not overly sold on Henry Cejudo. I thought he fought a great fight, his last one against Joseph Benavidez. So I've seen a lot of people score that fight for him. I'm not one of those people. I thought that Benavidez just did enough in that one to win the 29-28. Cejudo, we all know, he struggles to make the weight. I think that's pretty clear. I think that's one of the reasons why he probably pulled out of that fight against Sergio Pettis last time. I think that would be a defining factor there. Very good wrestling. Fast guy. I think he should have the striking advantage in this one here. Strength advantage, I think that Wilson Hayes has got that. If you watch the Dustin Ortiz fight, he was throwing Dustin Ortiz around, and Ortiz is not a hard guy to throw around, and he did that very much so. Do I think he could take down Henry Cejudo? I don't think he can. I think that not unless he gets him with a trip or he gets in a scramble where he can take him down through there, but I just think Cejudo's going to be a little bit faster and just a little bit quicker across kind of every facet, with his takedowns, with his timing, with his striking as well. So I think Cejudo could possibly stop Hayes late on, but flyweight fight, you have to think it's going to go to decision. So I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo via another decision. So that's 6 in the trot. I hope I'm wrong and there's finishes in this one, because that's going to be a long night if it's all decisions. So yeah, I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo. Not overly confident, I must admit. If Wilson Hayes was off a little bit longer, I think I would maybe possibly think about taking Wilson Hayes. I think it's the fight he can win. I just think that we don't know where Cejudo is. I mean, does he want to fight up at the top against Demetrious again? He knows that he can't hang up there with Demetrious. Demetrious just picked him apart. Interesting fight though. I mean, if the guy's struggling with the weight, it should go to 135. There's small guys up there. I mean, your Jimmy Rivera's and stuff like that. They're all smaller guys up there, and I think he could compete with some of those guys. But I'm going to pick Henry Cejudo. I'm going to pick him via 29-28. Maybe Hayes can get a round off him. So I'm going to pick him via decision there. And your kind of main event of the prelims, we have Sara McMann against Ketlen Vieira. Interesting fight. I think that this fight could also be close, but I like the projection that where Sara McMann is. I like the last two fights now, be it against Alexis Davis, who was out for 18 months, I think, with having a child, maybe 2 years actually, and then Gina Mazzani, who came in very, very short notice, who probably has no right being in the UFC, if I'm being honest with you. So she stopped girls in those fights there, but in that Davis fight she hurt herself. I think she got hit in the eye and she was complaining about that on her stool. So that's something that you have to be very, very careful with, is that. But I mean, Sara McMann, looking at her there, Jessica Ai, Alexis Davis, Gina Mazzani, not great wins really. Lauren Murphy, tough, not a great win. When she's faced that high caliber opposition, she struggled, she lost, she got submitted by Amanda Nunes, she lost a majority decision, which she probably could have won against Miesha Tate way back. Like the fact she's went to Team Alpha Male there, but what are they going to show her late on in her career? It's saying that with Darren Elkins, they've kind of toughened him up a little bit, and I think he has become a better fighter, but even though you don't really see it that much, because Darren Elkins is going to fight the way Darren Elkins always does. How do I see this fight? I think that obviously Sarah's going to want to use her wrestling. I think once she gets there, she can possibly submit Ketlen Vieira, who has been a kind of welcome. I mean, she's not beat the greatest girl. She met Ashlee Evans Smith was one of them. I think Kelly Fassholtz was the other. So this is a clear step up for Ketlen Vieira. But do I see her stopping takedowns? That is the main thing in this fight. I think on the feet, I think that the thing is with McMann, she's got all the physical tools. I mean, her legs are massive, very powerful. I think she hits very hard as well. So that's something you have to keep an eye out for. How do I see Ketlen Vieira winning this fight? Now, I think if she can stop the takedowns, she can get at Sara McMann. But we haven't really seen too much of Vieira's skills like on her feet. So I think anywhere really where the fight goes, I think that McMann has the advantage. But it wouldn't surprise me if Ketlen Vieira made this very, very close. If she could get off to a fast start, if she could win the first round, then it's on, because she has a very good chance to win the decision if she gets the first round. I just don't see her bossing Sara McMann on the feet. I definitely don't see her bossing Sara McMann in the grappling, the wrestling stakes. So eventually I think we're going to see this fight hit the mat, and then, I mean, Ketlen's from Brazil, she probably is well adversed in jiu-jitsu. We'll see if she can hang down there. But once you get Sara McMann on you down there, she's very physically strong and a really tough girl to go off you. We've seen that with the Alexis Davis fight. If you look at Alexis Davis's head, after she got submitted, I think it was the arm, the triangle up the top there. I forgot the word for it, forgot the name. But her face was like white down there, and it was like bluey, kind of purple. The rest of her face very red as well. So arm triangle. That's what it was. I like Sara McMann in this one. I'm going to pick her via submission. I think as the fight wears on, I think she can possibly get the gassed Vieira down a little bit and look for a submission. So I'm going to go an early third round submission for Sara McMann in that one. First finish of the night on my picks for that. Moving on to the pay-per-view card, we have in the featherweight division, Jeremy Stephens against Gilbert Melendez, who's returning after a suspension, dropping down a weight class. So it's very, very interesting to see him back here. I'll start off with Gilbert. I hate fighters that drop weight this late in their career. I think it says a lot that he's dropping at this point in his career after being popped by USADA for an illegal substance or whatever it may be. I can't remember what it was. I remember looking into it, but I forgot. Very interesting, very scrappy guy, always looking to kind of put on a fight. We've seen that in the Diego Sanchez, the Pettis fight. He tried to brawl now. I thought he was a little bit silly, reaching in on Anthony Pettis there, and he got caught in a guillotine. But he's one of the Scrap Pack members, comes forward, looks to bang, and just looks to make an exciting fight. This is where I think that he's got a really good opponent here in Jeremy Stephens, who will oblige him, will stand there, will throw bombs. So yeah, very, very interesting fight. I mean, Jeremy Stephens is coming off 2 losses. Frankie Edgar, which I thought was pretty close, he dropped him in that one. Then he lost to Moicano, who's a really good point fighter. Should have beat Brian Ortega, which still hurts, from 214 because I had a bet on him there. But yeah, he kind of swings a little bit wildly. He has that power, but he doesn't have an awful lot of knockouts behind it. And yeah, but when he does knock out people, he does it viciously. He did it against Honey Jason. He did it against Dennis Bermudez with that flying knee. So when he hits you, you know about it, and you can go down and you don't get back up sometimes as well. But he's not a knockout artist that the UFC kind of puts out and portrays as well. He's been knocked out. I think Yves Edwards knocked him out. So someone like Gilbert could possibly put him down as well. I don't see it. I think this is going to be a kind of blood and guts kind of fight where... a blood and guts fight where it's a little bit back and forward. I just don't like the fact that Gilbert is dropping down to this division this late on in his career. I don't like it whatsoever. I think that Jeremy could potentially catch him. This fight, I'm kind of feeling might go to decision, but I'm going to go, if it's going to be a little bit of a firefight, I'm going to pick the guy with the bigger cannons, the bigger shots. So I'm going to pick Jeremy Stephens via TKO late round 2 in that one there. I'm trying to think what Gilbert's Melendez game plan will be. Maybe try and take him down. Don't know whether he does that. I'm going to pick a TKO victory there for Jeremy Stephens, but it could go at decision as well. But Stephens via TKO round 2. I think if they get into a firefight and Melendez tires from the new weight cut down to 145, then Jeremy Stephens could start to eat him up a little bit and really put a beating on him and hopefully get a finish there. So I'm going to go Stephens round 2 TKO. Very interesting fight, light heavyweight division. This is one that caught my eye, and it did a few weeks back when I started looking closely into this event. Ilir Latifi against Tyson Pedro. We'll start off with Ilir Latifi. I mean, he was doing well in that fight with Ryan Bader. I thought he was doing everything that he had to before dipping his head into Ryan Bader's knee pretty much. Very, very stocky guy for the division. There's going to be like a height disparity in this one for sure. But very, very strong, hard to get to the ground. Overall, he's a solid fighter. He's nothing great, is Ilir Latifi. He's fought a lot of kind of bums of that division, in all honesty. He's not fought the best guys in there. And I mean, Chris Dempsey, Cyril Diabate, Hans Stringer, Sean O'Connell, Gian Vellante. I mean, oof, that's not great. And these losses, Gegard Mousasi came in there short notice. Can't really fathom too much for that. Jan Blachowicz got hit with a massive body kick and folded. So yeah, I think he was supposed to fight Nogueira at one point as well. So his wins in the UFC aren't eye-catching in the slightest, really aren't. But he is a tough guy to put away, and he can take a lick as well. So Tyson Pedro's a guy, I didn't really rate him too highly when he came into the UFC. Got cold cocked by Khalil Roundtree with a huge left straight down the pipe. To be fair, he bounced back up, and once he got the fight to the ground, he was very good at keeping Khalil there and just beating the utter shit out of him until he submitted him late in that first round. Very, very hard ground and pound like we've seen in the fight against Paul Craig. I thought Paul Craig fought a really bad fight. His game plan, I don't understand why you want to clinch with a bear like Tyson Pedro, and once he started taking those elbows, it was night from there, and he was throwing at a pretty weak high kick, which Tyson Pedro could probably run around him in the time that the high kick even got there. So yeah, Tyson Pedro is a guy I've got a lot of he's a very young guy as well for that division. So if he can progress, I mean, he fights out of Jackson Winklejohns now. So during every fight that guy is going to make huge strides in his game, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I think he's got the potential to be a possible contender champion in the future because he is so young. You look at the guys like Gustafsson, Cormier, they're going to fade away soon. Rumble's not around anymore. So this guy could maybe come through and take the mantle in a few years down the line, perhaps. Who knows? But I've got pretty high hopes for him. He's one of those guys that the more I've seen of him, I've become more of a fan. And I think he can win this fight as well. I like him in this fight. I think interesting to see if his ability with his hands, that's where I think he needs the most improvement, is with his striking. If he can bring that together, I think his ground game's deadly. Big guy, huge legs, very good control on the ground. Looks, if he gets you in the ground, now I know I'm going off his fights previous to the UFC, but against guys who are not good at all and who made silly mistakes and moved to positions where Tyson was waiting for him to do that, and then he stopped them from there. But he's got very good control, very heavy, and if he gets someone like Latifi down there, he's going to dwarf Latifi. Latifi, if he was to put like a body triangle on him and start hitting him, he would eat up Ilir Latifi on the ground, I think, and that's where I think he'll do it. I think he'll look to clinch against Latifi. I don't think he'll get him down straight away. Latifi is like a fire hydrant, very tough, very wide, so he has that wide stance and he's hard to get taken down with. But I can see Pedro getting to the ground, and I can see him uncorking some of that vicious ground and pound. I can see that Latifi turtling up a little bit, and then he'll give a body limb out there, a neck, an arm, and I think Tyson Pedro will tear it off and get the submission victory. So it's either going to be a TKO via ground and pound or a submission victory. I tend more to go with the submission victory, so I'm going to go Tyson Pedro, late round 2 submission there from the kid from New Zealand. Really looking forward to that fight, because I think it'll be interesting to see what the odds are in that fight, because I think Latifi might get a little bit disrespected, and it might be worth a bet in that instance. But Tyson Pedro for me is going to be the pick there via second round submission. Welterweight division, Neil Magny against Rafael dos Anjos. Interesting fight. My pick is going to be Rafael dos Anjos. Neil Magny, I think I asked I had an initial view on this fight and how Neil Magny was going to fight this one, and I asked some friends, and they thought he had a very similar. They had similar thoughts to the way he was going to fight this one here, and it's fairly obvious. He's going to have the big cage. He's going to look to pick and prod at Rafael dos Anjos, staying outside, use those. He's got like a massive 10-inch reach advantage, which is huge, 6-inch height advantage, which is another plus for him. So I think he's going to want to keep this at distance and pick and prod and just move around the cage and make dos Anjos wear himself out, try to track down where Magny is going. Why I picked dos Anjos is that I think he can come forward. I think if he can try and use his leg kicks to stop Magny from being that active going around the cage, I think that will help him in the later the fight goes. I think once he gets a hold of Magny, he needs to really put his head into his chest and drive for those takedowns and take him down onto the mat. We've seen in the Damian Maia fight that if you're a clear good guy on the ground, now Maia is the elite guy when it goes to the ground with control and so on, but I think dos Anjos has that in his ability to take the fight there, control it, and potentially get a submission there. So that's what I think dos Anjos needs to do. But it's a hard fight to, like, dos Anjos in his first fight against Tariq Saffiedine at 170. I thought he fought very well, but he did gas a little bit, which was interesting because he was in Singapore a lot earlier than majority of his the fighting compadres on that card as well. So I mean, overall, I think dos Anjos is a really solid fighter. I'm looking to parlay Rafael dos Anjos. I think he might be a guy I look at with Gavin Tucker, depending on the lines, if I can get close to plus money. Like I had Prazares and Tysonov last week, which was minus 104, and that was the only bet I won of that weekend, but I still had a winning weekend through that. So dos Anjos and Tucker is what I'm looking at. But that's how I see Rafael dos Anjos winning this fight. I don't see him. I can see him winning the fight if he can get the back of Neil Magny. I just think he has to stop Neil Magny from fighting at distance and controlling the fight from there. He has to rush in, try and throw some combinations and use those leg kicks to slow him down. Once he gets him against the cage, take him down and just dominate from there. So I'm going to go decision victory there for Rafael dos Anjos. I've seen some people in Neil Magny. I don't think it's a bad shout, in all honesty. I'm just more confident picking Rafael dos Anjos in this one here. Co-main event of the night with Amanda Nunes against Valentina Shevchenko. If you go back and watch UFC 213, I picked Valentina Shevchenko. I'm not going to change my mind. I think I'm a little bit more confident in the pick than I am now. Than I was then, sorry. So I'm not going to go into this one an awful lot. If you want, you can go back and watch 213 to see why I think that Valentina will win. We can all talk about the first fight. Amanda comes out very, very quick. If you can survive the early round against Amanda Nunes, then I think you're money. I think someone like Valentina as well is a very grizzled kind of fighter. She lost that round, but she came into round 2, round 3, and she won that fight. She didn't win that fight. I thought Nunes won that fight, but towards the end of that fight, she showed what she's all about. She's a really tough girl, really good striking. Then she kind of showed that in the Holly Holm fight as well. She lost the first round, then she won the next 4 in my opinion, and she cashed a big underdog play for me. This was supposed to go down at 213. Amanda Nunes pulled out the day of the fight, and the interesting thing was there that she was cleared to fight and she didn't want to fight, and that says a lot. But I'm completely all for it. If you're not feeling well, then don't go into the cage. Don't go into a cage where you're going to be fist fighting someone. So if you're not feeling 100%, just don't do it. And I think the UFC's been a little bit kind of disrespectful to Amanda Nunes, saying that she could have fought. If you have a fighter who's not going to, if she's not well, then don't fight. You will fight another day now. She's another 6, 7, 8 weeks down the line. She's fighting here on this card. And she's not really missed off that UFC 213 card. It did weaken it a little bit, but it is what it is. I just think that Valentina Shevchenko, if she can survive the early rounds here as well, what did Amanda Nunes pull out with in that fight? Her sinus infection. It was to do with her sinuses. That's going to affect your cardio and conditioning. And what is Amanda Nunes known for not having great in the past? Cardio conditioning. So that sinus problem could hamper Amanda Nunes even more in this fight here. So Valentina Shevchenko, for me, I think she has to survive the early onslaught, not get caught with anything big, and from there I think she just runs out a clear winner. She picks at Amanda Nunes. I think she can stop Amanda Nunes late on as well. More likely the fight will probably go to decision, but I'm going to pick Valentina to finish this fight. I think once she starts beating Amanda Nunes up, I think that Amanda Nunes could look for the gate, look for a way out. So I'm going to pick Valentina Shevchenko late 4th, maybe early 5th round TKO victory there, and she'll become the new UFC 135-pound women's champion there. And the main event of the night, we have the flyweight king Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson against Ray Borg. Interesting fight. I've been looking into ways where Ray Borg can possibly win this fight, and I think he has a few things in his arsenal which could trouble Demetrious Johnson. But when I say trouble, I think it's only for a split second, and Demetrious will just work him out from there. Borg, a young guy in this, but I think he's only like 24. I think Demetrious Johnson was like literally fighting for the belt when he was like 17, maybe 18. So for the whole of pretty much his fighting career, DJ's been the 125 champion, and since he's won that belt, he's just, I'm literally in awe of Demetrious Johnson. People shit on Demetrious Johnson, but he will go down as he is the most complete fighter in the UFC. He will go down as one of the most dominant champions in the UFC. I hope he goes back up to 135. There's so many good fights there for him, and I really hope he goes up there. How do I see Ray Borg winning fights, or how do I see him maybe getting an advantage over Demetrious Johnson? Ray Borg scrambles very well. I think he's got very good timing. But I'm saying this here, I'm trying to convince myself that he can win rounds or win exchanges with this guy. I thought that maybe Wilson Hayes could possibly do that, and he completely bullied Wilson Hayes across the 4 rounds of that fight there. I think Ray Borg has to come out very, very, very quick, establish those takedowns, or at least try and attempt to get him down there and catch him in the scrambles, maybe grab his back. Then we'll see what's up from there, because Ray Borg is a really good guy on the ground. I mean, he's coming off a really nice win over Juicy for Mega down in Brazil. Not too many people go down there and beat Juicy and pick up the decision with the judges that they have down there. So coming out of Jackson Winklejohns, they're going to have a great game plan. They've fought against Demetrious Johnson before with John Dodson on 2 occasions. So yeah, they fought this guy before. They'll try and tinker a game plan more towards Ray Borg because he's not the most fastest striker. I think that Demetrious Johnson can actually pick him apart a little bit and really hit him with body kicks and low kicks. But it's just really, really hard to pick against Demetrious Johnson. I think that wherever the fight goes, he has an advantage. I like to see him in the scrambles because, I mean, some of his previous opponents like Ian McCall, they caught him in scrambles way back in the day. So that's somewhere I think that Demetrious can be caught, is in those quick scrambles, and Ray Borg has those quick scrambles. So I hope that we get the opportunity to see that, see if he can possibly catch Demetrious and get his back and so on. But it's hard to pick against DJ here. Just one of the greatest. I'm looking for every time, like we're into fight week now, I look forward to watching a Demetrious Johnson fight. I just think he's so fun to watch. He's so good, so good. He doesn't get the respect I don't think he deserves, and fans just kind of poo-poo on him a little bit. The guy will go down as one of the greatest fighters the UFC has ever had. So, and for me, this fight, I think that Borg might have a little success early. I'm hoping that he does, and then we see Demetrious Johnson come into it. But he finds ways to win. He'll find a weak spot and he will beat you. I mean, he's beaten guys at their own games. He submitted Wilson Hayes. He took down Henry Cejudo. Absolutely demolished him in the clinch. Kyoji Horiguchi just played with for 5 rounds. Last couple of seconds, submitted him. Yeah, he's beat everybody he's been put in front of him. What's next for DJ after this? I think Sergio Pettis has got an opportunity. I think someone maybe like Ben Nguyen could have a fight against Demetrious Johnson. So there is still a couple of fights out there in the flyweight division. Magomed Biblatov, who's fighting at 216, is coming through. So yeah, DJ is going to be the pick here. I'm going to pick him via... I think he could probably late on he'll start initiating takedowns and take down Ray Borg and get a submission from there. So I'm going to pick a late 4th. No, in fact, I'm going to go actually decision. I'm going to go decision for Demetrious Johnson. I think Ray Borg's tough, keeps himself in the fight, but I think he gets completely outclassed, and it could probably be... Do I see Ray Borg getting around? Maybe the first or so on when DJ is trying to work him out a little bit, but I see Demetrious Johnson being very heavy on the scorecards here and get a decision or a submission. Official pick is going to be Demetrious Johnson submission. I had enough decisions at the start of this card. I'm going to finish it with a finish. So DJ, round 4, submission. There we go. So that's my picks for UFC 216. Really had fun talking about that card. I really appreciate all you guys' support as per usual. I'm closing in on 1,400 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. Really appreciate you guys doing that. And I'll be back next week. We've got another card. It's in Pittsburgh. It's Rockhold against Branch. I'm seeing a lot of people count out David Branch in that one. And he's a huge underdog at plus 400. I think he has a chance in that fight, folks. So I have to look more into it through the week. But come follow me on Twitter, Will Martin MMA. Come follow my podcast at MMA Huddle. Just come and support us. That's all we're looking for. We're a fan-friendly podcast. Just talking fights, future matchups, and issues within the sport of MMA. So come and support us on there. I'll post a link to the new episode and our Twitter and so on down below. But comment, let me know your picks as per usual. I'll get back to you as soon as I can with my responses. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support, and all the best, and enjoy the card when it comes around this upcoming weekend. All the best.